the first people that will be punished on the Day of Judgment. One of them is the Qari, the one that recited the Quran. So the people could say, you are a Qari, a reciter. Do I want the people's praise or the likes? La, I don't want it. Sah, khalas, let me do it for the sake of Allah. That constant whispering of shaitan, where you just have complete doubt of everything. If a person knows himself, as we said, we need to be honest to ourselves. Don't lie to nobody. Look yourself in the mirror and you know who you are.
الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له يقول الحق وهو يهدي السبيل. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Ustadh Mahamad Ibn Aburrazaq. It's an honor. I'm here in your masjid in Birmingham. SubhanAllah, I'll give you guys a heads up from the start. This has to be a shorter episode of the Strangers podcast because I have to get a train back to London.
No problem.
But the Strangers,
Safe travels back.
Strangers are on tour. Trying to bring you, inshallah, different type of beneficial content, inshallah. So Ustadh Mahamad Ibn Aburrazaq, it's an honor. I won't do you the embarrassment of the whole introduction. I know you don't want all of that. But inshallah, we're gonna today speak about your area of expertise in Hadith, and I want to start, inshallah, by mentioning the first hadith in Sahih Bukhari, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, and that's kind of the topic I want to speak about today. So if before we get started, if you could just give us an overview of that hadith, and inshallah from there I want to link it to a different hadith as well, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, wahda wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah, amma ba'd. MashaAllah, you started with Abdul Rahman Hassan.
You noticed that one,
yeah? Inshallah.
He's our ustad, we have to. Especially in England.
Yeah, may Allah reward him and bless him, mashallah. As for the hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, and in Bukhari, it starts with the other variation of إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّةِ. Indeed, all actions are but by their intention. It's a tremendous hadith. It's sufficient to show how important it is in Islam that a number of scholars began their books with it. And Imam al-Shafi'i said that this hadith enters into 70 different chapters in Islam, different chapters of fiqh and the likes. Imam Bukhari started his book with this hadith. Imam al-Nawawi started it with his famous book, Arba'in al-Nawawi, that all the viewers are familiar with. Likewise, Riyadh al-Salihin. Likewise, many other scholars began with this book. And if you find majority of the books of Arba'in or the books of Hadith that were authored later on after the 6 canonical books of Hadith, many of them will start with this Hadith due to its importance. Okay, and the meaning of this is the importance of the intention alongside the action. That it's possible that two people perform the same action, like at the end where the Prophet ﷺ gave the example of the hijrah. Two people migrate from one land to another, from a non-Muslim land to a Muslim land, both of them performing the same action. And similar to that is two people praying or two people fasting, but due to their intention, one gets rewarded and one gets nothing, or one gets more reward than the other, going back to the intention. So it shows you and highlights the importance of the intention in a person's action of worship, and that you will only receive how much your heart is present in the action. And we have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that a person will pray and he will only receive this much of it, 1/10 of it, 1/8 of it, half of it, or this, up until a person, some people, they won't even receive no reward, but they've lifted the obligation, they don't have to repeat the salah. So this is just some benefits that could be mentioned in this hadith.
Barakallah fiqh. So then we move on and we kind of, how do we reconcile that hadith and then hear other hadith that are a little bit more scary, such as the hadith about the first man to enter the hellfire, the Qari who recited and memorized the Quran, so people can say he's a Qari. Say you're someone that's memorizing the Quran now, how do you ensure that your intention is pure? Because sometimes you could be memorizing the Quran and the thought comes to your head, I can't wait to lead the salah, or I can't wait to, for people to come and say this. You know what I mean? Even if it's not your primary intention, but that kind of the whisper comes to your mind and shaitan enters your thoughts like that. How do we reconcile that? And then how do we kind of stop ourselves from fearing that and not doing the action because of that?
Ahsant. Jazakumullah khair. Good question. And so now we have the affair of, we talked about the importance of intention in every single action. And from the intention is that you have to do it sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal.
Yeah.
And so, like you mentioned in the other hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that the first 3 people that will be punished on the Day of Judgment, it's not the polytheist, it's not this one or that one or the hypocrite. The first people that will be punished on the Day of Judgment is 3 people. One of them is the qari', the one that recited the Quran. So the people could say, you are a qari', a reciter. And another sought knowledge, so the people could say, you're an alim, you're a scholar. And another fought for the sake of Allah, so it could be said he's a warrior. And another gave charity, so it could be said about him that he is generous. Why did I mention 3? The qari' and the alim, they were mentioned together or in different variations. The poet, he says, وَعَالِمٌ بِعِلْمِهِ لَمْ يَعْمَلَ مُعَذَّبٌ قَبْلَ عُبَّادِ الْوَثَنِ. A scholar does not act upon his knowledge, he will be punished before the worshippers of the idols and stones and the likes of these things.
SubhanAllah.
Why? Because he has knowledge, but he did it for the sake of the people. So it could be said about him such and such and such as well. So how can we counter that, and how can we... There's 2 aspects to it. First of all, mujahadatun nafs, that you have to fight yourself. You have to always constantly check up on yourself. Why am I doing this action? Doing it for the sake of Allah, okay. Do I want the people's praise or the likes? La, I don't want it. Sah, khalas, let me do it for the sake of Allah. Let me do it at times where no one knows. I don't have to share it with nobody. That's one of the best ways to protect your actions. Al-a'mal fil khalawat, doing good deeds in private when no one sees. That you recite the Quran at night, or you have a private teacher, you don't tell no one else. That you, mashallah, finish qira'at al-ashr kullaha, you finish the 10 qira'at, nobody knows about it. Then inshallah, for the sake of Allah only. And then you teach the people, hakadha. That's one of the ways. Khalawat, mujahadat nafs, checking upon yourself. Another way is, the second aspect, to it is, as you mentioned, is not letting that lingering and that doubt cause you to not perform the action. Because again, that's another problem. Shaitan wants you not to perform the action. And so he comes with, maybe you're not doing it for the sake of Allah. So he causes you to leave after action. And he wants that. No. Rather, you should do mujahadat nafs and continue with the action. And the third aspect that we need to be careful from is, and I mention this quite a lot nowadays, is the affair of waswas. That constant whispering of shaitan, where you just have complete doubt of everything. I'm not doing this for the sake of Allah, I need to pray again. I'm not doing this for the sake of Allah, I need to do this again. I fasted this whole day, maybe I didn't do it for the sake of Allah, I'll fast the whole day again. La. This is another talbis iblis, is another plot and plan from shaitan. And the goal of that is to make you tired, and then you won't even perform the action in the first place. That you have doubt of every single thing that you do. This is waswas, and it's a sickness. And I always mention that it starts small. It starts from as small as the wudu that you're performing, the ablution that you're performing. You've done it, and it says to you, maybe you missed something, do it again. And you say, there's no harm doing it again, let me do it again. But then it becomes a habit, and every day you're doing it again. To the point that it might take 10 minutes for a person to do wudu, or 30 minutes. And you see them, Bismillah, get to the face, and they say, Astaghfirullah, start again. That's waswas. What's the cure? The cure is to ignore it. When it tells you just do it again, you say no. Especially if you know that you're in this scenario already. You should not listen to anything. You should do it one time. Doesn't matter if 100 waswas comes to you, maybe. One time, and that's it. Once you oppose the whispering once, twice, 3 times, then it will go away and you'll be cured from this. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to cure our brothers and sisters that have waswas.
Allahumma ameen. From one sickness to another, social media.
Very long.
And a lot of the times,
A blessing or a curse?
a blessing or a curse, subhanAllah, could be both. I mean, subhanAllah, people are probably seeing this because of social media, you know, so it could be a blessing, but then there are other times where, you know, sometimes brothers, we'll speak about brothers here, we weren't going to the permissibility of sisters on social media, I think that's been covered, but brothers going on social media and yani reciting the Quran in front of a camera, you know, setting up a camera and coming in front of the camera and reciting, or you know, engaging in da'wah and kind of mixing up their intentions. You know, may Allah preserve our brothers who are in the da'wah scene. And then the other thing is also brothers who use their platform and then kind of change their actions. So maybe we'll start with the brothers.
We'll start
with the first part. The brothers who are setting up the cameras and doing the qira'at and everything like that. Is that permissible? Is that okay?
So look, there's one of two things. If a person is a teacher and they're trying to teach the people, or maybe trying to introduce them to, like I've seen some videos where they will have the qira'ah of a specific teacher or a new teacher that started, and to get the people to come and study with them. That's khair, inshallah. So la ba's with that. Or there's some videos where the person's actually teaching them common mistakes. That's fine. If the gharad is to teach people, to get them interested, then that's fine. Or a person could have the intention of inspiring, which I think is, and this is general, not just talk about qira'ah, and just generally speaking, I think is one of the most powerful ways to help other people and to motivate people and to get them to have good role models and the likes, is that you become an inspiration. But whilst you're doing both of those things, you have to still do mujahadat al-nafs. So always check up on yourselves, all of us. That's how the Salaf were, Sufyan and Imam Shafi'i and the great scholars of Islam, and they were who they were, giants. And Sufyan will say that the hardest thing that I find is that I correct and fix my niyyah, because it constantly changes upon me. He's being honest with himself. We need to be honest with ourselves and have mujahadat al-nafs, striving against our own souls, constantly checking upon ourselves, especially on social media. It's a fine line between being an inspiration and doing it for others to benefit and just for showing off or for wanting people to see you or to get the views or the likes or that feeling that you get after you get hammy. They talk about it now, that it's almost like a drug.
Yeah, dopamine hit.
Dopamine that you get from this or that, ila akhirih. And so we're all required to constantly check our intentions. But if it's for those gharad, then it's khair, especially in a time where the evil has become widespread. And it's become
gharad meaning necessary.
Gharad means the goal.
Yeah.
And the reason behind it is for you to teach or to be an inspiration. Is a very noble cause and noble reason, especially in the time that we live in, where the evil has become widespread and become the norm in many countries, in many places, in many communities. And the khair has become it's getting less and less all the time. And you have less role models to look up to and people that you inspire to be like or that motivate you. And so it's important. Wallahi, akhi, I see that many of the brothers, especially in the West, that are doing acts of da'wah and going from place to place and teaching regularly, week in, week out, and doing things of khairat to inspire other people to do similar or better, that they are doing tremendous work, wallahi. A person does one thing and 1 million people benefit from it, or thousands of people benefit, and he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know. He hasn't even reached them. I'm not just talking about the views, I'm talking about people correcting their salah, people correcting their fatiha, people fixing relations between family members that they cut ties with because of something of a person trying to help and teach their people.
So inshallah we'll speak about the other category, people who they start off maybe coming on social media doing da'wah, and then they change their intention completely. Not just their intention, but the actual actions. How do we advise these brothers? How do we speak to them? do we advise them to leave social media completely, or do we try to get them to go back to what they were doing before?
Look, the answer requires some detail and tafsil and looking at exactly what the scenario is talking about. But generally speaking, akhi, if a person was doing khair on social media and then they fell off that khair because of the waswas or shaitan or temptation or moments of weakness, it depends on what the situation is and the likes. But generally speaking, the most important aspect that you have to look at is the sum'ah of Islam, the face of Islam, and the sacredness of Islam, and that this doesn't become a reason for Islam to be attacked or for people to be put off from Islam. Or some people don't accept Islam because of this person's action, or some people go further away because of this person's action, or this guy's been given a green card even though he's doing X, Y, and Z. Ila akhirihi, that's from the things that occur that we don't let, and we look at each other, each one of us on a personal level, that we don't become a reason why Islam is attacked from our side. And if we know that because of a moment of weakness that we fell into a sin or a public sin or something, then we should have the maturity to take a step back and to let the da'wah flourish so no harm reaches it. And we remind our brothers and sisters why we're doing da'wah in the first place. It's not about individualism and me or you per se. The da'wah will move forward with me or without me. That's the mindset we should have. So, can I have the honor? Can Allah bless me with the honor of being part of that group of people that Allah the Prophet ﷺ says, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي على الحق ظاهرين, that there will never cease to be a group that is upon the truth apparent. لا يضرهم, they will not be harmed by those that oppose them and those that forsake them. إلى قيام الساعة, up until the hour. Are we going to be from that group of people or not? May Allah Azza wa Jalla make us from them. May Allah make us from those that service the Muslims, al-Islam and the Muslimin, and to bring benefit to them and to protect them from harm.
Ameen, ameen. We'll wrap it up, inshallah, with the final question. Which I do have two questions. The two questions. The first one is, if you're a person who is currently on social media and struggling with your intentions, what would your advice be to that person? Yani, they're doing the da'wah, but they're also enjoying the attention that comes from it, or in moments of weakness they indulge in they go and they check all the adoration and the messages and stuff that's coming their way, and now they may be thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't be involved in this anymore. What's your advice to them?
So it depends on who the person is. Is this a da'i? Is it someone that is doing the camera shooting? Is it someone that's sharing other contents or translating content? There's many people doing da'wah online. But what is one thing that is shared between them is we constantly check each other or check upon ourselves or constantly, as we said, our ikhlas and the likes. If a person knows themselves, as we said, we need to be honest to ourselves. Don't lie to nobody. Look yourself in the mirror and you know who you are. If you have a weakness for certain things and you know X, Y, and Z, then do that which is the most safe option for yourself in this dunya and the akhirah, and for the da'wah. And so if that means, let's say on a level of a da'i or a content creator, the person that's making the video, that if they're on the physical app or the likes, that they will fear falling into haram or doing something that's haram or the likes, that they have an admin, for example. They delegate that. Do that which you're able to do, and that which you fear, delegate to someone else.
Or even maybe have give someone else the password to your account.
And have a couple of people, no problem.
Yeah. So you're not using
if a person fears anything haram coming from it or the likes. But and there should be a difference between a personal account and a da'wah account. And also there should be a stressed point on that everyone should stick to their level of knowledge. I can't talk about certain intricacies of certain affairs if I don't have knowledge of it. I can't. A scholar can't talk about certain intricacies of a specific field if he doesn't have no knowledge of that, and he will be honest and say, I don't have knowledge of that field, that's not my bab. So how about somebody that hasn't no knowledge at all? It's even more important and stressed that we don't go into now, mashallah, we have people today that don't have knowledge that will open up a channel and mashallah they'll answer questions ala al-fawr. They'll answer questions on live. And this is something that the scholars would have, the Salaf, they would say, they would pass, a question would come and they would pass it to someone else. They try to get it to somebody else. Because all of them knew it, or there was more than one person that could answer it, they would prefer somebody else suffice them. Because I'm going to be asked about this question. So today, there are people that can answer it and they are being extra careful. They will answer it, but they're extra careful. Then you have others that don't have the knowledge and they're the loudest to answer questions. للأسف الشديد. And so it depends on which level إلى آخره.
Yeah, صح.
Allah Azza wa Jalla gives tawfiq.
And the final question, inshallah, is away from the topic of intention.
And social media.
Yeah, and social media. Just some general advice to young Muslims who are struggling to connect to their Muslim identity, whether that be coming to the masjid or even identifying by their real name, calling themselves by a nickname, hanging out with non-Muslims, dressing like the non-Muslims, all of these things.
The short answer is that there's nothing like being in your own skin, in your own shoes, in your own comfort. There's nothing like it. You trying to be something that you're not is the worst feeling to have. And I think anyone that is on that, deep down, they probably feel that. The long answer is that, look, this life is a test and it's a trial and it's ibtila. And Allah Azza wa Jal, through this life and this test, is going to sieve out the truth from the liars, the mu'minun from the kafirin, a group in the Jannah and a group in the hellfire. If you know as a Muslim that Islam is the truth and the likes, but you're being affected by peer pressure or the society that is around you, like classmates, colleagues and the likes, then you have to make a decision for yourself. What's best for me? You have to be selfish. A lot of people, they try to just mix with the crowd. And the Prophet ﷺ, he warned against this, being an imma', a yes man, someone that just goes with the people wherever they go, even if it's haram. Rather, you should be your own person, making your own decisions. If it's haram, sorry, I can't go. Especially for the youth, advice for them, take good role models. There are good role models online and lessons that you can go to in the masajid, especially in the masajid. And the second thing I want to mention is connected to the masajid is the affair of having good companionship around you. Changing your companionship if they're listening to music or doing haram. Change your companionship. Someone might ask, okay, where do I find new companionship? I don't know anyone else. Go to the masjid. The masjid is the best place to find new friendship. Good friendship, companionship. People that pray 5 times a day. People that are attending lessons. People maybe same level as you, maybe a bit higher than you, maybe lower than you, but they're trying to change. So all of it is khair. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make it easy for all of us and the new generation, Z as they call it.
Is that the letter we're up to?
The Abdurrahman Hassan always talks about.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Barakallah feek, Ustadh. I hope you get a safe travel back to Australia.
Inshallah. Long flight ahead of me. First a train now to London and then tomorrow, inshallah, we head off. Barakallah feekum. Jazakumullah khair for watching another episode of the Strangers Podcast. Alhamdulillah, we were able to get one in here on tour in Birmingham. And inshallah, we'll be back in the studio soon. Right. Assalamu alaikum.